Hey everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm James, that's Katie, and of course, that makes this Circles and Squares, a PlayStation podcast. Kate, it's Thursday. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I knew you'd ask me this. I was spending the whole time leading up to this podcast thinking like, oh, what's the most exciting thing that's happened this week that I'm excited to share with you? And I gotta tell you, it's pretty sad. But the smoothie place
Oh my god.
nearby my boyfriend's house just got a new flavor that's like orange, ginger, mango, pineapple, and beets. And
Beets, eh?
Beets, and I gotta say, it is absolutely delicious. And
I would never have anticipated beets. What does the beet add? Does it add like a depth of flavor, you know?
I think it like makes it a little bit sweeter, and
Okay.
I think it also makes the texture nice, and it just gives it this like really pretty color as well.
We'll have to guest Dwight Schrute on the podcast sometime to tell us about how the beet can influence smoothie.
Dwight Schrute, if you're listening, please write in.
It's funny you should mention that. I actually went for bubble tea earlier today, and I got an Earl Grey milk tea, which was quite pleasant.
Nice. What kind of pearls?
I actually didn't get pearls.
Oh, isn't that the whole like?
It was. I
thing?
was out with someone. They just wanted bubble tea really bad, and I sometimes when you get a bubble tea and you're really thirsty, but the pearls actually do the opposite of quenching your thirst. They make it a little bit less.
Because now you're eating.
You know, you're also eating, and the pearls aren't exactly like liquidy. You know, it's just I don't know. Wasn't feeling today.
You get stuck in your straw, and then you're.
Yeah, right.
It's
I know.
horrible.
Yeah, that probably sounds really good on mic. That sucking straw sound.
Yes, like a millisecond into that noise, like this is a horrible mistake. I'm so sorry.
I'll see what I can do when I edit the show, but no guarantees. Sorry if we just killed your ears there. This show though is not about beverages. It's about video games, which is what we're going to talk about, of course. But just before we get into that, I want to let everyone know, if you like what we're going to talk about, if you think the show is something you'd like to see grow, please head on over to our Twitter account at CANDSPod, CNSPod. It's got links to our email, YouTube, and all of our other accounts as well, if you want to follow us over there. Today we're obviously going to be talking about the games we've been playing, but we've also got a news roundup. And then for our special third segment, Kate has prepared a mystery quiz for me to partake, and you guys can follow along at home as well. But for now, Kate, what you been playing?
Well, I've got two games I want to talk about today. We'll get started with the first one. This one's funny. It's a game I bought probably like 5 years ago on a Steam sale and just never got around to playing. But I started...
Funny how that happens.
Yeah, that tends to happen.
So it happens in two places, Steam and PS Plus.
Yes, I have quite the backlog. But I recently started playing XCOM.
Now, which XCOM are you playing?
So it's the Enemy Unknown. So yeah, it's not the newest one. This one I think came out in like 2012. So I've owned it for a time. It's been out for a time, and it's finally made its way around to my current playlist.
Remember, this is also on PlayStation 3 and on the Vita for anyone who wants to play along at home.
And I would honestly recommend getting it on either of those platforms because it doesn't really... I feel like I'd be more comfortable playing it either on the couch or like on a handheld would be a great.
That's interesting because I thought XCOM for sure, like I've dabbled in it just briefly, but I feel like it's a good mouse game, you know? And I don't say that often because it's like...
Yeah, I don't know. The controls, to be honest, are a little bit clunky on computer anyway, so I feel like if they're not super I might as well be sitting on my couch.
Yeah, I feel like the Vita would be the prime system for XCOM, honestly.
Yeah, I honestly think a handheld would be absolutely perfect. I like turn-based strategy games on a handheld.
Yeah.
They're always really good pick up and play games, but anyway, I'm playing it on Steam. Set my laptop up, and I haven't gotten too far. I think I'm just past the tutorial, but my early impressions are pretty positive. I think the game definitely shows a little bit of dating, which is totally fair being like a 7-year-old game. But it's good. It's got a good difficulty to it is the first thing that kind of strikes me. Like it is rewarding when you play tactfully and plan out your turns really carefully, but it is also very punishing if you leave a unit kind of...
Yeah, well, it's also one of those, it's a permadeath game too.
It is a permadeath game. So that was one of the things that originally put me off of it when I first purchased it because of other people's reviews, and it was just such a big game when it came out. But the permadeath put me off, and I thought like, I'm not really going to get attached to these characters. Like, I'd rather play something like Fire Emblem where the characters all have a story. But it's actually sort of ironically been one of the things that I've been enjoying most about it, because I've sort of created a narrative for these characters myself. So I've done, and I can't take credit for this because I read about someone else doing it online, which sort of sparked the idea for me.
Yeah.
But I've been naming all of my units after people I know.
Yeah.
So it is very entertaining when it's like, oh, this is, like this, like my friend had this happen and like, oh, you're wounded. And I'm like giving him updates. Like, this is horrible. James, you're actually my worst unit. I have
Not
to
surprised.
let you know. You started out on your first mission. You missed at like an 80% hit chance.
Yeah.
Then you got attacked twice, died. Your death like gave a crippling fear to the other squad members around you.
I'm sorry, squad mates. I'm sorry.
And that was it. So that was your whole game. It was horrible. I have remade you, and you've gotten a kill and leveled up. So hopefully, like, you'll do better next time. But
I'm glad you gave me a second chance. I promise I'll prove my worth this time.
Well, if not, like, you might not be making it back to the team after that.
I understand. Don't worry. No need to sugarcoat.
But yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. It's like definitely a game that it has a lot more to it than I originally thought.
Yeah.
As well, like there's a whole like base aspect where you go back between missions and you choose like what kind of things to research, which will give you more items or let you kind of interact with the aliens in different ways. So that's kind of interesting. The other thing I like too is you get a world map, and as different things happen in different parts of the world, their panic level goes up. And you can kind of do missions or like put resources into different countries to make their panic go down. So you're sort of managing those aspects as well as going in and doing the missions. So it's kind of nice to kind of go back, debrief, and then...
It's almost like just a nice little break up from going straight into the next mission.
Yeah, exactly. Just another thing to sort of get you a little more involved because the story seems to be, at least as far as I've played, very minimal. So those things give it a little bit more depth that it didn't have otherwise. So... yeah, I'm interested to see how the game progresses because it's so critically acclaimed.
Yeah. How do you like the combat compared to like a Fire Emblem or a Wargroove or other, games of that ilk?
It's kind of different. I think the biggest difference is you only have... well, I think you unlock more later, but right now I only get 4 units per round. Or per combat, so it's kind of smaller scale in the sense where like you do a very small turn and then the enemies, there's maybe 2 of them at any given time do a small turn.
Yeah.
But the health and the damage, I find it's very quick to kill things. It's a really lot more about positioning, I think, than a lot of the other games I've played, where it's been something like Fire Emblem, especially with your tankier units, or Wargroove, where your units are very expendable. If you kind of position incorrectly, you're not punished, and like you can kind of mitigate that by having a better turn next turn. Whereas in this game, it's like you position someone incorrectly, they're dead.
Well, that's important too, because I feel like if you only have a squad of 4, like you're relying on each of those members to really pull their weight, It's not like in Fire Emblem, you might have like 8, 9, 10 units, and if one of them dies, like you can usually pull through anyway. But if one of your, like that's 25% of your squad if one guy dies in XCOM, and that's a big, like, that could really throw your tactics way off.
Yeah, exactly. You can't afford to lose anyone early. And I found as well, and it might change because the characters progress as they go, and as they level up, they gain different abilities. But I found that some of the classes seem quite a bit stronger than other classes. So I don't know if maybe they're just a little bit more late game oriented and they need to build up a little more. But I found that that's maybe one of my other complaints is you don't get to choose what type of unit your units become.
Oh,
it's
really?
sort of everyone's at least for now. I don't know if that's something that gets unlocked later, but at the beginning you kind of you're like a rookie where you have no unique abilities, and then once you level up once, you just level up into a class. But it seems to be at random so far. So
what happens if all your guys level up and then they're all snipers?
I guess you're in trouble. Like, you can hire more units, so you could presumably like hire the medic unit instead.
Your deficit that you miss, yeah.
I mean, like and I guess that goes along with your units are just nameless guys, but because I'm, giving my characters like a story and like, okay, this is this friend and this is that friend, like I don't want to replace them with generic soldier that is just he's running out of money and he wants a new job, so he's come to me.
You don't need no merc.
Right?
You want your friends to do the damage.
So we'll see how it progresses. Overall, I'm enjoying it, and it's like kind of fun to play almost as a social thing.
Yeah.
But
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, the other game I've been playing is definitely a social game. We picked up some Smash Bros.
Nice.
So Smash Bros. Ultimate is
The evergreen title.
Yeah, it's one of those games where we played in phases. We won't play Smash for a while, and then all of a sudden we'll play quite a bit for a couple weeks, and then it goes back on the shelf. And we're in a bit of a Smash phase now, which is fun because I hadn't actually played the game since Byleth was released.
Yeah, it's been about that for me too. I usually just check back in when a new character comes out, and then play half an hour, and I'm done.
Yeah, so I'm actually quite impressed with Byleth, and I will go on record saying I think she or he, I guess, is a good addition. Very different when compared to the other Fire Emblem characters.
I agree, and I think they got a bad rap announcing Byleth because, oh, look, it's another Fire Emblem character. But in reality, if you took the franchise away, Byleth is pretty unique, I think.
Yeah, I think it's been a shame how the Everyone's Here banner for Smash kind of accidentally made too many Fire Emblem characters, because a lot of them were like replacing other Fire Emblem characters as new games came out, right? Like we started with Roy and Marth, and then like we added a few, and like Roy went away, and we got Lucina, and we got different characters. But now that everyone's back,
right, you realize just how many Smash characters there are.
Yes,
I guess.
So, but the last three Fire Emblem characters have all been really unique. Like Robin is great. I'm blanking on the name, but the dragon one.
Oh,
Corrin. Corrin's half dragon. That's different.
Corrin's, yeah.
And Byleth has got all of the items, which really finally like encapsulates Fire Emblem as a whole. Yeah. So, she's great. She's been a lot of fun. But I will say that the best character in the game is Jigglypuff, and you can fight me on that.
The best character is Joker, okay? Come on.
Yes, I used to be a Joker main, but I've picked up Puff as a joke.
Yeah, Puff is tough, man.
The Puff is tough. I picked her up as a joke, and like she's just so much fun, and I will play her until the day I die.
There you go. Doesn't the level of fun you have from playing Smash Bros. Make you just wish PlayStation All-Stars was better than it was? We got to relate it to PlayStation somehow. Yes. But it would be so great to see them just shamelessly rip off Smash Bros. With all the PlayStation characters. Like, I think that, yes, it would be a complete copy and whatever, but I think it would be great.
I think the problem that PlayStation All-Stars had when it came out was it didn't rip off Smash enough.
Exactly.
It tried to be different.
It was so close, but just the way that you scored points was so bad.
That was my biggest complaint with it. Yeah, I hated the point scoring thing, and like that could just have been a mode and then have also like a more Smash-oriented mode.
It'd be like if Smash Bros. Came out, but the only mode was coin, the mode where you give people money comes out and you got to collect all the coins, like.
Well, that's the only mode me and my friends play, James.
Get off my show. Jesus. Oh man, yeah, we can dream.
It would be fun. The only funny thing now is like Smash is kind of stealing some of those characters. We got Joker, we got like Snake.
Yeah, but I mean, they can come back. They can be in 2 games.
They could be. They really very much could be.
There's a lot more Persona characters in there than just Joker. You can have the whole cast.
We could have a whole Persona fighter.
If Nintendo can have this many Fire Emblem characters, we can put the whole Persona cast in there. Just be easy, be easy. Well, I've been playing a couple games that are from the year 2008, kind of. So the first one I've been playing, I've heard of a game called Patapon, of course, pretty big game on the PSP. So let's just back up a little bit. Back in the mid 2000s was the rhythm game kind of explosion. Guitar Hero came out, there was Rock Band, Donkey Konga, all those kind of
the pinnacle,
right? Games. Yeah, Donkey Konga. But there was another rhythm game that came out. I don't know if it was anything really to do with those ones releasing, but it was another game based on beats, and this is of course Patapon. So Patapon it's like a rhythm side scroller. And do you know anything about this game at all? Like, have you seen footage?
Patapon's one of those games where I've heard the name so many times, which by the way sounds like a delicious like Korean dish or something. I'd love to order Patapon.
The bulgogi or the Patapon?
Extra Patapon, please. But yeah, it's one of those games I've heard so much about, but I've never actually really seen much gameplay. It's such a weird aesthetic.
It is, yeah. So the way it works is you're commanding kind of a troop of units called Patapon, and there's different ones you can get, and they all basically look like little kind of silhouette figures that are really not very impressive by themselves, but they wander in a group. And there's different ones you can get, and some of them have a spear or a bow or just different weapons. And essentially you start on the left side of the screen, and what happens is there's a beat that kind of plays in the background, just like a steady drum beat, like boom, boom, boom. And there's one guy actually in the middle. One of your Patapon will have this drum, so he's actually like your lead unit. And what you do is you have different rhythms you can play to give the Patapon different commands. So if you want to hit them on the beat of the drum, so you're playing this whole game to a beat while you're also figuring out what you want to do. And you start off, you have only a couple different beats that you can use, and the first one is will be move forward. So it'll be like XX circle, and so you on the beat you'd say boom boom X X circle, and when you hit it, the Patapon begin to sing to the music. They're like pata pata patapon, and then you put in the beat and they go forward, and then you get other commands like attack, or there's a defend one, and it kind of gets more and more complex the further you go. And the enemies are coming from the right hand side, you're coming from the left, and you have to basically move to the beat and know when to put in each command, because they take a few seconds to happen after you do them, because everything moves to this rhythm. So you really have to almost predict, okay, I think the enemy is going to attack now, so I better use this defense beat before they even do their attack, because you kind of just get to know what the enemies start wanting to do to you. And so it's a little bit to get used to. It's kind of one of those rub your stomach and pat your head type of things, because you're, on one hand, if it was just a regular action game, you'd be doing these commands a lot quicker, but because you're limited by the beat, you have to think a lot more about it. And the other thing too is the closer you are to hitting the beat, you begin to get bonuses, like your Patapon will become, I guess, happier or something, and they become to be more effective the better you are with the beat. So with that being said, I hope you understand enough. This game is, for some reason, I find it hilarious.
It sounds ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and so you'll do these levels, and then you'll go back to their kind of village or whatever, wherever the Patapon live. I don't fucking know. It's weird. There's this tree, and you gather resources as you go through the levels. The first few levels you're just killing these enemies that don't even fight back, and you're collecting resources which you can use to build new Patapon, or you can build upgraded weapons for your Patapon, or all sorts of different things like that. And you're slowly kind of building up this squadron of guys, and you're trying to get further and further.
The Patapon Army of Death.
The Patapon Army of Death, right? But I don't know. I just kind of picked it up. I actually got they did a remaster a few years ago of Patapon, but I picked up the original. It was on sale. I think it was $5 or something. I just got it for Vita to kind of dip back in. It was one of the games I owned on PSP back in the day, and it's kind of one of those cult classics that I wanted to recheck out. Right. And I don't think I'm ever going to really beat it, but I'll just do a few levels here and there, and it's kind of fun to check out.
It sounds really unique too. It's interesting that it's a rhythm game, but it also seems like it's got a strategy element to it as well.
Yeah, it is really strategic.
Kind of almost puzzly with
well, it is, right?
What because
when you play the level, you'll get into a boss fight, and the bosses are kind of a puzzle, because you begin to notice they're moving to a beat as well. You'll notice every third beat, that's when the dragon attacks or whatever you're fighting. So you'll do the first two beats, I'm going to attack. The third beat, I'll defend.
You know what it kind of sounds like to me? It's almost sort of a progression of that, I guess, very niche style of game.
Yeah, rhythm side scroller.
Yes, the well-known rhythm side scroller. It reminds me sort of, the gameplay might be similar to something like Crypt of the Necromancer, or the Legend of Zelda one that came out. Because that one, it's a rhythm game. You move on the beat and you have different moves, but it's kind of like a puzzle too, in the sense that you find out what the enemies do on their turns. Some of them will attack every third beat or something, so you have to kind of play around what they're doing more so
that's
than
very
anything
similar.
else.
Yeah, it's very similar. Just instead of, I guess, those games are more of a top-down action, whereas this is a side scroller, but same kind of idea. And you do replay the levels several times, because you're going through collecting the resources and whatnot, and so you do kind of learn the best rhythm to do each level in. The game's not always obvious in what you need to do, though. There's this one desert I'm stuck on right now where the Patapon are it's too hot. We need this item before we can be able to go across the desert. But the game doesn't tell you where to get this. I just need to figure it out. And I don't know if that's maybe an old game design philosophy, it is 12 years old or what, or maybe I'm not missing something obvious or whatever.
You're just not relating to your Patapon.
I need to maybe go back and bond with my Patapon a bit more before I get past this desert, but it's a cool game. It's got a unique look. The music's kind of cool. It feels good to play here and there, but I wouldn't say it's, going back to it now, I wouldn't say it's something we have to play. I would be interested to check out Patapon 2. I know there was a sequel that I never tried.
Okay, see what they've kind of improved on and changed.
Maybe they improved it or something, I don't know, but it's a cool little game. The other one I've been playing, again on my Vita, I've really been picking this thing up recently. This game I definitely would recommend to anybody. Of course, Persona 4 Golden. This game originally, Persona 4 came out in 2008 also, but this is obviously Golden, came out in 2012. And I have a really interesting opinion on this, that like people seem to think this is the best Persona game in terms of the story and everything. And I think that playing it after 5, I can see where they're coming from, but I don't agree that it's better than 5.
Okay, you think maybe they are a little nostalgic because they played it before?
I don't know. Like
or...
there is an argument to say that it is better than 5 story-wise, potentially. I think 5 just goes more in depth and does a better job of letting you spend a bit more time with each of the characters, and maybe fleshes out the story slightly more than 4. But I mean, I'm not at the end yet. I think I'm on the 5th palace.
Right.
So I mean, I can't really speak to the whole story, but so far I think 5 is the better game. But 4 is still, like, it's a very engaging story. And I mean, the music's same thing. Like, the soundtrack is different than Persona 5. It's a bit more of a chill kind of vibe soundtrack, but it's still awesome music. Great art. The art's as good as ever. Some of the animation, some of the character designs I think are even cooler than 5. But I will say if you cancel out the story and everything, the game, I think, begins to fall a little bit short from 5 in terms of the dungeons. Firstly, because the dungeons in 5 are very much like they're crafted. Like, you're in the palace and it's this castle, and it's been made, and it's got this whole map layout, and it's got all these interesting rooms, different size rooms, like different puzzles and tricks and things you have to figure out. Whereas in Persona 4, the palaces are all just corridors. Like, it's a straight hallway that leads to a straight hallway that leads to a square room with a couple doors, and then a few more hallways off of it. And every palace is like that. They're just different aesthetics and different music. So it doesn't feel quite as crafted or like bespoke as 5 would feel, just because of the linearity almost.
Right. The environments don't feel as unique and special when you get to a new palace.
They do feel unique. The aesthetic is unique, but if you took away the way it looks, then it's really just the same kind of hallways and whatever. But the enemies are just as cool. The personas are just as cool. What it does have is a really neat mechanic where at the end of every battle, you get a variety of cards that pop up. And they have different... I really wish they brought this over to 5, because it's one of my favorite aspects in 4. So you'll get... Say you beat a fight, and anywhere from like 3 to 5 of these tarot cards will pop up. And they'll have things on them like restore HP and MP, extra experience, no encounters for a little bit, or they could just be blank. Some of them are like no money this round. There's all kinds of different things you can get, and you can take the one that you want the most. So you could say, oh, my HP is getting low on my guys, and I want to explore this dungeon longer. I'm going to take the HP up card, and maybe I can do another fight or something. But the interesting part comes in where if you manage to be able to take all of the cards, then you get a bonus for next time. So there's some cards that are say, take no money for this battle, but then you get to pick up 2 more cards. So you can kind of chain them together in a way where it's like, oh, is it worth taking all 5 of these? But then I might not get any money or experience this round, but then the next round I'm starting with this kind of chain bonus, and more cards will appear next time. So I think it's kind of cool to figure out how to get the optimal take all the cards after a battle, and I think it's something that 5 would have benefited from having. It's another way you can restore your health as well, and gain extra experience points and stuff like that. So I like that a lot. The other thing I don't think is quite as good about Persona 4 compared to 5 is that the confidants don't have any outside of battle skills you can pick up. So if anyone has played 5, the characters in your party, as you level them up, they'll get more skills for combat. But there's lots of confidants that you meet that don't actually join your party, and they're like side characters in the world.
Yes, but they are extremely useful.
They're very useful.
Reasons.
So in Persona 5, for example, there's one guy who runs a weapons store, and the further you level up his relationship with you, you begin to get discounts at his shop or expanded inventory, things like that. But in 4, the confidants don't grant you any extra abilities outside of battle for leveling them up. So if there's someone that you just know, like there's a little girl you're living with, the daughter of the guy you're staying with. Her name is what's her name? I can't think of it off the top of my head. But her name, when you level her up, it doesn't do anything for you except for that her persona type you can get higher.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
So it's still like the person of like
it's like the
Hierophant,
or the jester, or like the chariot
Yeah.
persona. But so you'll be able to make higher level personas of that type, but it won't grant you any other abilities. Like you won't get any benefits.
Okay,
aside
yeah,
from
I
that.
see that being tough because there's always with those games, because I've almost finished Persona 5. I'm so close, and I did actually play like maybe the first 5-6 hours of Persona 4, but I was playing the not Golden edition, and I ended up pausing it because I felt like I wanted to play Golden, and I would come back to it. But in those games, you're always sort of trying to decide what you want to do with your time, and you can't do anything, and it's kind of like a constant you can't do everything. You can do some. You just stare at a blank screen for 100 hours and I'm done. No, sorry, you can't do everything.
Yeah, that's a good point though, because in Persona 5 it's hard to decide how you want to spend your time, because there's a benefit to hanging out with everyone.
Yeah.
Which is arguably, they're all important, just depending what you value the most. But in this game, I think it really encourages you to level up the party members the most, because you want the in combat abilities. Like, I don't really care if my chariot is gonna give me a level 6 or a level 5 persona, or like extra bonus experience, because you can just level them up anyways. And it is helpful, but not to the same degree.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same level of impact when the other one would also give you the confident bonus, but also then something in actually in combat. So that's a shame, because I Persona is known for having an amazing cast of characters, and there's times
this one does.
Yeah, and there's times in 5 even where like some of the confidants I tried to max out first were ones that I didn't really find tons of benefit for their actual stats, but I just liked them as a character and wanted to see them, like, how their story progressed.
Yeah.
So it's nice when they all sort of have like an equal kind of benefit to the game, and you choose based on who you want to hang out with.
Yeah.
Versus like, well, I'm really interested in this character, but like that bonus is just so good I can't ignore it.
That's the thing, and I find myself kind of missing out in some of the story in this game, because there's a few side stories that I'm really interested in. You can get a part-time job at a hospital, and there's some weird, maybe slightly paranormal things going on, and you can get another one, which is this lady who's at a daycare and whatever. And I'm interested in their stories, but I just don't feel quite as compelled to go back and spend my time with them, because it's not quite as beneficial as it is in 5. And I'm maybe missing out on some cool side stories just because I don't feel it's quite as important. But I mean, I don't want to give a bad impression of this game. I think it's still phenomenal. I think comparing it to 5 is unfair, because 5 is so much newer, and they've obviously expanded on the formula and everything.
And realistically, 5 should be a better game because it's building off of 4,
exactly.
Right? Like you should be able to expect it to, but 4 is still seems like a phenomenal game that's worth going back and playing.
It really is, and I mean, I'm gonna finish it hopefully sometime soon. I mean, these are long games,
soon,
right?
So I can borrow it.
Yeah. I'll get to it, but I mean, I think the one area where this can still surpass 5 is the story. The overall narrative is really cool. I think it's easily on par with 5 as far as the overarching narrative, and depending how it ends, it might even end up being better. So I will definitely be checking back in on Persona 4 Golden. And the funny part about this is I'm probably going to be playing Persona 5 The Royal at the same time once I complete Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I'll talk about as well on a later show. But I think that's all we've been playing for now. So let's take a short break. I'm getting a bit parched. And we'll come back after that.
You need a smoothie.
Smoothie, that's right.
Or some bubble tea. It all comes back.
Right. We're going to go grab a quick bubble tea, and we'll be back right afterwards for the news. All right, everybody, welcome back to the second segment. And just before we get into the news, I need to clarify, the little girl in Persona 4's name is Nanako. And I just need to put it out there that I did know her name, just caught me on the off guard there. And her name is Nanako, okay? But that's not what we're here for. We're going to talk about the news, and we got a couple stories here. Kate, would you like to take the first one?
Yeah, absolutely.
fill
And
us in.
this first one's some pretty good news. It comes from us from PlayStation blog from Herman Hulst himself. And we have a release date for Last of Us Part 2 and a new release date for Ghost of Tsushima. So Last of Us is going to arrive on June 19th. And then Ghost of Tsushima, which originally was going to be set to release on the 26th of June, has been pushed back to July 17th.
Right.
So it's great news for The Last of Us Part 2 because last we heard it delayed indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
So June 19th seems very close compared to indefinitely.
Yeah.
And Ghost of Tsushima is still quite close to its release date and just a little bit further along the next month.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously had to push Ghosts back after The Last of Us is coming out June 19th. Like, they couldn't put those out within a week of each other. They would just cannibalize sales.
Yeah, it says due to corona pandemic, which, like, you know, definitely I'm sure did play a part, but I think it's also just, a good decision to maybe not have those two massive games come out within a week of each other.
Yeah, exactly, right? And, well, the thing is that everyone knows, there's no secret, though, although these are both big, pillar releases for PlayStation this year. There's no secret The Last of Us is the big boy, and if Ghost of Tsushima would have been put out to die, I think, right a week later. So it's a good thing they moved it back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really surprised The Last of Us is being released so soon, like you said, after an indefinite delay. You'd think I don't know what had changed to make it happen so soon that they feel comfortable releasing The Last of Us now. But I mean, after hearing indefinite, I would have assumed, like, man, are we going to see this game in the fall or like early next year? Like, indefinite sounded really ominous, and to get a release date that's within, less than a month's time is really surprising, but it's a good surprise.
Yeah, exactly. I was surprised too when I saw the news that it was one of those, like, is this even a real article at first? But yeah, it seems like, I guess, whatever was causing the delay didn't end up to be as, maybe it was more of a precautionary thing, just in case, like, worst case scenario, it takes a lot longer, but it seems like whatever was delaying it is working out. And
yeah, I think it was because they weren't able to produce the game on the level they thought because of the corona and shutting everything down. But I would be interested to know how they've spun this around to be close again so quickly. Anyway, I'll take it because I want to play that game really bad.
Yeah, well, it's putting pressure on me. I don't have as much time to be the first one as I thought I did.
Man, you do. Yeah, I think it's good news overall. Glad there's a bit of space between the two of them. Hopefully, I'm obviously going to play both of these, so I'm hoping it's obviously going to be enough time to kind of get my fill of The Last of Us before Ghost comes out, just less than a month later. It's going to be a good summer for games, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, having these two, what more could you ask for?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this brings up an interesting question I'll ask you, and just kind of something to think about. When companies delay games, do you think that's generally, like, a good decision on the company, or do you think they should? Because I know it's kind of a sort of a hot topic with some consumers who prefer to wait and have the game come out, exactly as the developers intend, and some people think, like, they'd rather just have it on the day, and if it's not quite perfect, it's not perfect.
Yeah.
Like, what's your take on that?
I mean, I think that's a bigger question than what's happened here, because by all accounts, The Last of Us Part 2 is pretty much complete. It's more of a distribution issue they were having here, but
right.
I mean, in general, I would always be a fan of delays and giving the game more time to come out. We've seen it so many times where, say, a game like No Man's Sky comes, it has so much fanfare, and it just falls flat on its face because it obviously wasn't to the standard of what people were expecting before it was released. And I think that it's really difficult for games to come back from a shitty release and kind of turn the narrative around. Like Fallout 76, like, they've put on this huge DLC pack recently. They've added NPCs to the game, but I mean, this is Fallout we're talking about. It's one of the biggest franchises in games over the last decade, and because of how shit their release was, like, no one's even talking about that right now, and you need to have a strong launch in this era, just because every month there's 1, 2, maybe not now because of the corona stuff going on, but I mean, the last few years there's been at least one humongous game within every month or every other month, and you can't afford to get those bad reviews, or someone's just going to buy a different game.
Yeah,
simple as that.
I agree completely. I'd rather wait and the game comes out exactly as the studio envisions it, and it's perfect, and we get the experience that we're hoping for. And I think another good point to think about too is it's so much better for the studio and the employees one of the biggest problems working in the gaming industry is those like really stressful crunch times, and they're doing so much overtime and trying to push for deadlines they're oftentimes quite unrealistic, and delaying it if it's not going to be ready in time.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'd expect to maybe mitigate some of that stress put on the teams as well.
You'd like to think so, although I mean some of these studios, I'm thinking like, man, are they just going to crunch now until June 19th when they could have been done by now?
Yeah, exactly. It still happens, but
I mean in principle, I think that's on the money. Like that's the hope, right? You'd hope that people don't mind taking a day off because they do have an extra month to work on the game or whatever the case.
Yeah, or at the very least just not put in insane levels of overtime,
maybe you
right?
could just do an 8-hour day instead of 14.
Instead of putting in, you've got 100 hours left to do in a week, now you have a month to do it instead.
Yeah. In a perfect world anyways, but
yeah,
hopefully those type of things help out. The Last of Us really leads in nicely to our second news article today.
Which is not quite as positive of an article, unfortunately.
This is probably about as negative as it gets. This one comes from Forbes. Paul Tassi writes over there. The Last of Us 2 really had a big leak come out. This is the quote from Paul. Parts of the game taken from a dev build have been leaked online, are being disseminated across YouTube. This includes an enormous amount of cutscenes from the game and various dev menus that reveals levels and plot points from The Last of Us Part 2. The rumor currently circulating is that the dev builds are leaks from a disgruntled Naughty Dog employee who was tired of being mistreated there, so he decided to mass leak all of this stuff. That has not been confirmed at all yet. This could end up being a fan creation based on the fact that this is a dev build and Naughty Dog is a studio known for extremely intense crunch. So this obviously really sucks to have. I mean, these are the juicy details, right? This is the whole reason people are clamoring to see what happens in The Last of Us Part 2, and now you can, you might get spoiled online.
Yeah, this kind of thing is awful for any game, but especially such a story-heavy game such as The Last of Us 2 that people are already invested in because of playing the first one. It's really just like the perfect storm of awful.
Yeah, I know. It's I mean, yeah, like you said, it'd be one thing if they maybe leaked like, oh, there's a new, Call of Duty coming out, but that's just, it's like, revealing, like it's a reveal that's getting ruined. But here you're basically ruining like crucial plot points that people have been waiting years to find out what happens to Joel and what happens to Ellie and what happens to these characters. And there's a good chance that people are going to get this ruined. Yeah. I think it's just terrible.
Did you personally get it ruined?
No.
Okay, yeah, I luckily managed to avoid it, which was double whammy for me because as it keeps coming up and I keep having to shamefully admit I haven't played the first one yet. So I was worried like twofold. Not only would it spoil part of the second one, but it might spoil some of the first game for me as well in context. But luckily I managed to see a lot of articles and not actually get into any of the juicy details.
Yeah, I mean, the internet's a cruel place, though. Like, yes. I mean, it's going to be it's a minefield out there, you know what I mean? It's going to be tough to avoid the whole time. But, I mean, let's assume for a minute here that there's no confirmation that this was a Naughty Dog employee, but I think this is really coming from because this was a dev build the leaks were from. So obviously someone either had created this as a farce, or if it's accurate, which it seems to be like legit footage, then it's like the question is like, do you think this was brought on because of the work from home situation, or is it just a case of someone really did try to go that far out on purpose or was it more of a case of like, hey, these files were, on someone's computer and they're one of their family members was at their house and had an idea for a stupid practical joke or something,
Yeah, I mean, I think regardless of who did it, it was, like a bad call on whoever it was, whether it was the employee, someone who like came across it on maybe an unsecure home computer from working from home or something. But I think if it was a joke, intended as a joke, it's not funny.
No.
If it was intended to be hurtful for the studio, I think that's misguided because the people that are getting hurt the most are fans who are getting it spoiled, and also maybe other coworkers who like have just put so much love and passion into the game. And
that's the thing, right? And I mean, if I was an employee getting dragged through glass every week and working 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week or whatever, I mean, maybe 90 is a bit extreme, but like hopefully working like crazy overtime, like even if you're really mad at your boss, Neil Druckmann's over there making you like whipping you with his weapon, like making you work harder, but at the same time it's like you're not really hurting the higher ups at Naughty Dog. Like this game's still gonna
Yeah,
going to sell like
I
crazy.
don't
like,
think this is going to hurt the sales significantly at all.
I don't think so. And the people that like majority of consumers don't even know about this leak. Like they just go to the store. They don't really keep up with media. They just know like, oh, The Last of Us, that was fun. It comes out next month.
This
like
is
I'll
another
pick
big
it up.
game.
But
Like
they're not listening to this podcast. They're not going to IGN and you know. But it's true. Like this is for people that like PlayStation. You know, and we're the ones following the story.
Yeah, it's going to be the niche kind of crowd that's a little bit more like into doing the journalism side of it as well and keeping up to date. And I think those are the people it hurts the most is the fans who've been looking forward to this and kind of want to experience the game naturally as they play. And I think, you know, maybe if you are being, you know, whipped and overworked, that's, you know, like it's fair to have such a resentment towards it because that's, you know, not an ideal working condition, but I think it's definitely a misguided and unfortunate retaliation if that's
totally.
the case.
And also your coworkers that are in the same situation as you, like their hard work, they've been pouring years into this game too, and they, I'm sure, like at least for all their you know blood, sweat, and tears, they want this game to come out and be as surprising and as impactful to their audience as possible. Yeah. So at least that's a payoff on their work.
Exactly, they want to be proud of it and get a game of the year. And
yeah. Well, I mean, I think they still have probably a good chance of getting that despite this, but I think it just lessens the impact and kind of puts a damper on what would otherwise be maybe the biggest release of the year across all of video games, you know, and it just sucks that this kind of thing has to happen. And I mean, if you're a leaker, just don't do it, man. Just you know, put your talents to somewhere else and
yeah, exactly. You are very talented if you're like data mining or leaking or doing whatever, but
yeah, find a better outlet.
Go
can be better.
Go back to like making fake Smash characters because those are actually funny.
That's right. There you go. Well, that's the news for today. You know, hopefully no more big leaks come out for next time. But let's take one more short break, and then I'm very excited to see if I can get a perfect score on the upcoming quiz. Hey everybody, welcome back to the third segment of today's episode of Circles and Squares, where we have something interesting planned. This is our first time doing this. We're going to do more in the future, but we thought it would be fun once in a while to give each other a quiz on some random video game topic. Kate has prepared a quiz for me, which I guess I'll let you introduce. Yeah,
absolutely. So James has not seen the quiz before. He's going to go into this totally blind, and you guys feel free to participate at home as well. Let us know how you do. Hopefully.
Let's hope you do. Let's hope I get perfect and you can try and match my score.
Right? Well, we'll see.
We'll see. What's the topic?
So the topic is actually, I was inspired by the last show we did when we were talking about kind of a retrospective for the PS4, and then also with our news today of two new great exclusives coming out. So I was inspired by some great PlayStation exclusive games. So I've got a list. It's sort of a two-part quiz here. I've got 5 amazing PlayStation exclusives. Mm-hmm. And I've got here, so the first part is going to be, I have some snippets from the IGN reviews.
Okay.
And you're going to have to correctly match up which review is for which game.
Oh, shit, okay.
But then the second part, and my personal favorite part of the quiz, is I also have the worst review from Metacritic user, and you must correctly then match up the horrible review, horrible scathing review to the game as well.
All right, let me get my my pen and paper ready here. I'm just gonna write down some notes about. You know what? Maybe I'll skip the pen and paper.
You take this as seriously as you need to. This is
Okay. You know what? Let me get my phone right here. I'm gonna just write a few quick notes on here. I really want to try and ace this, you know?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's very important. To start out, I will tell you the 5 games I've picked. So it's not going to be totally random. I'll read you all the good reviews. You'll match them up, and then I'll read you all the bad reviews. So the games I have selected are The Last of Us.
Okay, hold on. I'm writing this down.
Okay.
I'm going back to the paper. The phone is too hard. The phone's too hard. I don't have the proper app for this. Here we go. So the games are... the original or the remaster?
No, these are all games that are currently out. It is the original.
Okay.
Original The Last of Us. Bloodborne. I couldn't help myself.
Bloodborne.
God of War, the latest one, number 4. Uncharted, the original. So
Uncharted 1.
Drake's Fortune. Yes.
Okay.
And Persona 5.
All right. I knew you'd put that in there.
Yes, I had to.
Okay.
But I knew you'd appreciate that.
All right,
as well.
I got this.
Okay, so I will read you now, and you can match them up
So-
now or all
So
at
we're
the
gonna do
end.
the snippets from IGN first.
These are the snippets from IGN. Now I have bastardized them slightly just so that it's not extremely obvious which game it comes from, but these are sort of their verdicts. And I will tell you the score IGN gave them too, just for fun context. Last of Us got a 10 out of 10.
Yes, it did.
Bloodborne got a 9.1.
Okay.
God of War got a 10 out of 10.
Well deserved.
Uncharted got a 9.
Uh-huh.
And Persona 5 was a 9.7.
Wow.
Royal got the 10.
Royal got a 10.
But this is just the original Persona 5.
Fair enough. I think Uncharted 1, looking back, just to say, I think it maybe scored slightly higher than it should have been. Looking back, but semantics, whatever. Good game still.
Good game, but definitely for its time.
Correct.
Okay, so I will read you the first one.
Okay.
Feel free to try to match this right away, or wait till you've heard them all. Maybe you change your mind.
We'll see how it goes.
Okay, so in short, the studio has crafted a game that impresses in virtually every way. The game is a true feat. Its unrivaled presentation in particular sets the bar even higher than another game it was compared to. And its writing, voice acting, and layered gameplay combine to create what is very easily the game to beat for Game of the Year.
Right. My initial thought was this is going to be Uncharted, but since you said layered gameplay, I think the original Uncharted was a bit more linear. So the first one is either going to be The Last of Us or God of War, but I don't know which one yet. Okay. So I'm going to put number 1 just beside there.
Okay, interesting. Okay. I like the
I'll give you a bit of insight into this
the analytical approach that you're taking.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Okay, number 2.
Okay, number 2. I was expecting great action from game, and it delivered that handedly, but I didn't expect it to be a thrilling journey in which every aspect of it complements the others to form what is nothing short of a masterpiece. The obvious care that went into crafting its world, characters, and gameplay delivers a most stirring and memorable game.
I feel like that's Persona, potentially, but again, not
These
sure.
These are wonderful praises.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, next. Game is an amazing, exciting, and exhausting pilgrimage through a gorgeous land that imposes the feeling of approaching the bottom of a descent into madness. There's an incredible power to unlocking its mysteries and succeeding, despite its demand for a pound of your flesh.
That's Bloodborne. I'm sure of that one. Number 3, Bloodborne. But I'll lock in my final answers at the end.
Okay. Don't get too cocky here. The next one. It stands out as an extraordinarily memorable experience and easily one of the deepest games of the last decade. Its sprawling design and stylish, fully realized world are an absolute joy to explore, and even after 3 playthroughs, I find myself itching to go back.
I mean, that could be any of these, couldn't it? It's not Bloodborne because that's number 3, but I mean, that one... I don't know. I'm going to leave that one to the end and fill it in.
Okay, that'll be your
That's
fill.
That's tough.
All right, well, the final one here hopefully gives you a little more direction. The overall package of an endearing story, outstanding score, great performances, and fun gameplay should put this title on top of your wish list. Game isn't just a standout for Sony, it's a standout for gaming as a whole.
It's interesting that you mentioned score there, because to me... that's one section where The Last of Us, doesn't really have a memorable score. I mean, it has a good music and like good sound design and everything, but I wouldn't say that I remember any songs from that game.
Maybe not like the aspect to point out.
I mean, score is so obviously Persona, right? But then Uncharted also has that swelling main theme. Mm-hmm. Could be that as well.
Yeah, these are quite.
Can you read me number 2 again?
Yeah, I can read you number 2 again for sure. I expected great action from game, and it delivers that handedly, but I didn't expect it to be a thrilling journey in which every aspect of it complements the others to form what is nothing short of a masterpiece. The obvious care that went into crafting its world, characters, and gameplay delivers a most stirring and memorable game.
And that was number 3?
That was number 2 you asked.
Number 2, okay.
Number 3 was your Bloodborne
Number 3 was my Blood. Okay, so number 2 I think I'm going to say is Uncharted 1.
Okay.
because you're expecting action, right? And that's what's important there. Uncharted is first and foremost, I think, great action, climbing around. I think that's that. So that would leave Persona to be the one with which is the one where you mentioned the score, number 5?
That was number 5. Yeah, the outstanding score, endearing story, great performances.
Yeah, so I think all those 3 really describe Persona 5.
Okay.
Especially since story is mentioned there. I mean, it could be The Last of Us, but I don't. Then again, the score is what makes me think it's Persona.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go with 5 for Persona. Bloodborne is 3. I'm going to check those off. I think I'm locked in there.
All right, that was your most confident answer.
That leaves Uncharted 1 as number 2. Can you read me number 1 once more?
Number 1 once more? Sure. In short, Studio has crafted a game that impresses in virtually every way. The game is a true feat. Its unrivaled presentation in particular sets the bar even higher than another game it was compared to. Mm-hmm. And its writing, voice acting, and layered gameplay combined to create what is easily the game to beat for Game of the Year.
Doesn't help me. That could easily be both. Number 4 was very ambiguous as well.
Yes.
I think there's one aspect of that that's pointing me in a slightly in a direction. Mm-hmm. What was it said unrivaled presentation, or what was the line there?
For number 1?
The one you just read, yeah.
It has impresses in a way. It's unrivaled presentation. Right. Yes.
I'm going to say that is God of War because it has the behind the back unbreaking camera shot the whole way through the game. So I think that is unrivaled presentation.
Right.
That's
We're
never
really
been done.
really reading into the subtleties of this.
When it's this close, you have to.
What else
can I do? I have nothing else to go on. So I'm going to say God of War is number 1. That leaves The Last of Us as number 4.
The Last
and
of
I'm
Us
going
is
to lock
number
those
4.
in.
Lock those
right
in.
There.
All right. No takebacks.
Nope, that's fine. Do I get to know how I did now, or is it after the second part?
It's up to you, I guess. What would you prefer?
You're the quiz master, man.
All right. Let's do the second part now. Let's do this part while they're fresh in our minds, and we'll
Good
see.
idea.
So number 1, with its the crafted game, it's a true feat. Presentation sets the bar high. Writing, voice acting, layered gameplay. Mm-hmm. You said God of War. It was Last of Us.
Oh, so close.
You considered it, and
so
you
close.
changed your mind.
I really just thought the presentation was the camera from God of War, but I mean, Last of Us fits those descriptions as well. So
yeah, I think the writing is what was supposed to stand out there for sure. So number 2 was the everything forming together to be a masterpiece, the care in the world, crafting characters, gameplay. You said that was Uncharted. Mm-hmm. It was God of War.
Unbelievable. That's hard.
You know what? It's hard. A lot of these games have, all of those things in spades, right?
I got to be better than this, man. I hope I got at least one.
So number 3, you were very confident was Bloodborne. It absolutely 100%
right?
was Bloodborne.
That was the obvious
A pound of your flesh.
And also descending into madness. That's none of the other games.
So maybe Last of Us, it's got that plaguey sort of thing going on. But
it does, but I wouldn't say it's madness.
Bloodborne for sure.
Thank God I got 1. I was so confident.
Persona 5, so number 4 was Persona 5.
Yeah.
With its sprawling design, going back. I thought maybe the 3 playthroughs might spark that because it has the New Game Plus system.
Yeah. So, sorry, number 4 was what?
Number 4 was the one that talks about the sprawling design, stylish, fully realized world. And that was the... Oh, sorry. Number 4 was Persona 5. You said it was The Last of Us. But it talks about those 3 playthroughs, which are New Game Plus-y, and the word stylish stood out to me a lot there.
Yeah, it did.
Which makes number 5... which you said Persona makes that to be Uncharted, the final
which
one.
Was my second guess because of the
second
score.
guess, the great score, performances.
Even the best can't get everything right sometimes, and I would like to take some happiness away from this first round by saying I did get the Bloodborne one right. I think unfortunately that was the only one that was kind of easy.
I will give you partial points for considering some of the right answers and then second guessing yourself.
I don't want the pity points though. I want it to be real and authentic.
All right,
I'll make up for it here. Don't worry.
This cutthroat second round will have no pity points. I guarantee you that.
Okay.
So these are the scathing Metacritic reviews, and I gotta say some of these were absolutely phenomenal reads. read through.
So is this like the worst review?
So all of these games have amazing scores on Metacritic. Absolutely phenomenal. About the same as IGN, give or take a bit of a score. But I went on specifically to those 0-point reviews and found just like the people who had the absolute worst mind-breaking moments playing these games.
Okay.
And I don't know what they're doing with their lives right now, but like, God, they had a horrible time. So I'll read you the first one. It's going to be the same 5 games.
Okay, we'll do better. I will personally almost guarantee I'm going to get at least 2 here. I got to pick it up.
All right, let's see. So number 1. Maybe I'm too old for this kind of game, but it seems lame and overstuffed with unnecessary things like text and effects. It's like pimp your old ride and expect everyone to believe it's a great car that compete with the latest models. I cannot believe this is so high-rated game.
I mean, that has to be Persona, right? Because they mentioned lots of text. None of these other games are a lot of reading. So I'm going to say number 1 is Persona 5.
Okay, that was decisive.
I mean, if it's not, then that doesn't make any sense. But that was also like is a shit review. So I mean, how accurate could this be?
Well, spoiler for the future, they're all shit reviews.
Okay.
So number 2 starts out in all caps, I might add.
Okay.
What the fuck? No mini-map or any difficulty alteration, and pure clueless trash with ugly setting. Then test your patience to the limit with repetitive gameplay augmented with dull, slow, and retarded combat.
Oof.
This junk is a one-of-a-kind and a whole new level.
Okay.
As this game is boring, clueless, frustrating, no purpose, no story, with clunky controls, dated graphics, slow combat, and aimless garbage. This is a total waste of time and money.
Oh my God. Can I just interrupt this quiz for 1 second to say that we need to do a segment occasionally where we just read bad reviews for games and like laugh about it. That would be such a great segment.
Some of these, yes.
That would be great. That has to be Bloodborne, right? Because the rest of these are all very story-heavy games. So if you're like not able to pick up on the story in The Last of Us, God of War, Uncharted, like why are you even trying to play those? So I'm gonna say that's definitely Bloodborne.
It's definitely Bloodborne. Okay. We'll move on to number 3 then. The plot is bereft of any innovation and is advanced only by long, poorly rendered cutscenes. Do you see all the perfect scores this overblown, poorly designed travesty got? Rip gaming journalism. If you know anyone that considers this game more than a 5 out of 10, put them down.
Oh, Jesus.
The infection has already taken their mind and you're doing them a mercy they don't deserve.
Ooh. So when you were reading that, I thought that it was going to be Uncharted. But since you said the infection, I'm thinking it might be The Last of Us. But again, I think I screwed myself over last time by reading into these small word choices and I selected the wrong game. So I'm going to put 3 as potentially Uncharted.
Okay.
I'm going to put 3 as either Last of Us or Uncharted and see where it goes.
We're undecided. Okay. We're getting less decisive.
Yeah. Well,
but we'll read 4. Maybe one of those will match. So 4 is my personal favorite bad review. Boring, one tedious battle after another with a few predictable puzzles thrown in. A friend lent this to me for the weekend. I took it back on Saturday morning.
What the hell? What are they? So,
yes.
Did they play this Friday night?
Friday
and
night.
Just decided
for like 2 hours? I don't know.
Well, it'd be funnier if they started it Saturday morning and just took it back. Like,
took it back
Saturday
20
minutes.
Yeah. Friend lent it to me for the weekend. Took it back Saturday morning. If you are into boring crap, this is for you.
Okay.
Boring crap.
Boring. Not even boring.
Not even boring.
So you like read that accurately.
I am reading them accurately, yes. I'm not ESL. I am reading these word for word.
Okay.
But yeah, I love
not
the
that
implication.
There's anything wrong with being having taken ESL classes.
No, absolutely not. But this, I mean, he was just in such a fury after sending the game back Saturday morning.
I mean, the thing is, if the game is that bad, why even bother editing your review? Obviously, the studio didn't put effort into editing their game, so
yeah, of course, of course.
That one is tough, and I feel like I mean, all 3 of the games I have remaining, I'm locked in on Persona and Bloodborne, I think, but the remaining 3, Last of Us, God of War, Uncharted, they all have puzzles that I could see someone with the negative aspects describing as repetitive. So,
but I mean, how repetitive is it if you've played it for
one? Exactly, how you would solve one puzzle, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave 4 again.
As undecided?
As
Okay, maybe 5 will help you out.
I hope it does. Otherwise, I'm screwed.
All right, now 5 is quite the read. I recently played this game because of all the hype, and my friend who never games and camps in the Call of Duty series liked it. So I gave it a try and thought it would be a good idea. But as a gamer boy, I was flat out wrong.
Ooh, and gamer boys know what they're talking about.
Yeah, he's a gamer boy. This was, I believe, the worst adventure game I have ever played in my entire life. The reasons for it being terrible are the game is basically a no fun grind, and I found myself screaming at the game halfway into it, in all caps, please just end, I don't want to play you anymore. But I'm not gonna not finish a game, ellipses. It's incredibly retarded, and the story makes no sense. It's so upsetting. The only thing positive about this game is the graphics are spectacular. But the problem is that nothing fun or interesting ever happens in this game.
Jesus Christ.
But he finished it. He finished the game.
I commend this person that wrote this review just for finishing the game, unlike our counterpart who gave it back on Saturday morning. Like, yes. I mean, at least give it a go.
This guy kept at least all the way through till Monday.
The thing about that review is that doesn't even really tell you anything about the game. Like I've learned nothing about what this game is.
I will, as a caveat, have to say that I sort of did have to pick things that were a little bit vague,
exactly.
So it wasn't
I understand.
obvious.
I understand. You don't want to give me someone so smart such as me too easy of a quiz.
Exactly.
But
yes, as the guy who got 1 in the first round.
Listen.
Okay, you're redeeming yourself here. It's fine.
Okay, let's see. I gotta get this straightened out here. So 5 is the most ambiguous of all of those. So 4 and 5, I'm really stuck. Can you read me number 3 once more?
Give me the Cole's notes, read you number 3. So it's bereft of any innovation and advanced only by long, poorly rendered cutscenes. The perfect scores are overblown. The affection has taken their mind. If someone's giving it a 5 out of 10,
okay.
Put them down.
You can pause it there. That has to be The Last of Us for 2 reasons. Number 1, they mentioned infection. Number 2, it said perfect score. So that's obviously not Uncharted. God of War got a perfect score as well, but there's nothing to do with infection. So it has to be The Last of Us.
Okay. I like your deductive reasoning.
That leaves 4 and 5 as an absolute crapshoot. Give me 2 seconds worth of number 4 again, just to...
Well, it's one tedious battle after another with a few predictable puzzles. Took it back Sunday morning.
Yeah, right. Okay. I'm going to take that guy back Sunday morning. I think that will be Uncharted.
Okay.
God of War has puzzles as well, but I can see the argument for some of the puzzles in Uncharted being tedious. I mean, if I was to go back and play Uncharted 1 right now, I might think some of the puzzles might be tedious. A lot of climbing, a lot of swinging, a lot of,
Yeah, maybe some light physics puzzles.
It's not bad, but I mean, I can see maybe where that aspect is coming from. I'll say 4 is Uncharted, which leaves 5, whatever that guy was talking about, to be God of War.
Right, so he finished God of War and hated every second of it.
I don't understand how a human could have that opinion of God of War, but I mean, to each their own.
I mean, I'd love to say to anybody, like, if you know anybody or you yourself like writes these kind of reviews, I'd just love to pick your brain. Like, what compels you to be like, I hate this game so much, I need to just go like tear it apart on Metacritic.
I think a lot of people that do this are like they want the clickbait that they want to be found, But I mean, people. There is true. People that have these opinions. Like, I'd love to sit down and talk with someone who this is their legitimate their opinion.
The thing about it too is, like, do you know you're being really funny? Like, this is hilarious.
Or are you just that outraged?
Or
to
you
where
just like
this is what your opinion
genuinely
is.
How you feel. You're getting your thoughts out. You're spitballing.
Yeah.
But okay, so you're locked in. You feel confident with your answers.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you, you did much better this round.
Yeah.
So number 1. With its lame, unnecessary things like text and effects, was indeed Persona.
It's gotta be, yeah.
Very text heavy. I can see text heavy being a critique of the game, but like,
well, I mean,
I don't think I would go as far to say that text is an unnecessary thing in a game.
I think the thing about that is, like, yes, Persona is text heavy, but if that's your style of game, that's what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to play an RPG like that and not want a bunch of text. Like, you're just in for the wrong experiences. If you went into that not wanting text, you're gonna have that opinion. opinion. So
yes, exactly.
so,
It is a
yeah.
JRPG.
Yeah.
So that's what you're getting. Number 2 was indeed Bloodborne.
Okay.
Yeah,
2 for
difficulty,
2.
no mini map, Bloodborne. I will say everything else hurt my soul to read, but it is Bloodborne.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
Again,
yeah,
it's not a game
interesting
for
opinion.
everyone.
See, I could see that being a real opinion as well from someone that got absolutely shit kicked by this game.
Yes, and then
just got
quit
so
out.
mad they like broke their PlayStation and put this review on Metacritic. You know, I could see it.
Yep, they're now a PC
I think
gamer.
those
'cause,
people
yeah.
are wrong, but I can understand.
It's niche. It's not for everyone for sure. Number 3, it was also correct. It is indeed The Last of Us. I don't know if this person intended for to pun off the infection, but
Yeah.
they did, and it worked for you.
Hey, if that's, I mean, what else could I have gone on, right?
Yeah, exactly. You got it. The last 2, unfortunately, you did put backwards. So the guy returned
Damn.
God of War on Saturday morning, and someone else, so the gamer boy did finish Uncharted, just hated
Okay.
every second
Yeah,
of it.
well, even gamer boys finish games sometimes, whatever.
Yeah,
that
I mean,
is.
that's, he's got to uphold his title, I suppose.
Yeah. So I don't know if you were keeping score, but I was, and my grand total, 4 out of 10, 40%.
40%?
I mean, I think I really did redeem myself. I think the first round should have been, I could have done better, but I'll take it. I think I tripled my score in the second round. I'll take it.
That's right,
could have
yeah.
done
And
worse.
like all good game shows, the second round's worth double points for some arbitrary reason. So,
those are the rules. Those should be the rules. I like that.
Wonderful.
Wow. Hey,
well,
Kate, thanks for preparing that quiz. That was fun.
thanks for playing. I had a blast.
I will definitely. So it's my turn for the quiz next time. Probably in a few episodes. We'll toss another one of these in.
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. Write us in. Let us know how you did.
Yeah.
Your favorite review you've ever come across.
Please actually send some funny ones in. That'd be great. And
Yeah.
also, if anyone else wants to make a quiz for the both of us, maybe we could take one together.
Yeah, that would be tons of fun.
Just put the answers in maybe like a spoiler section on the email. Send it over, circlesandsquarespod@gmail.com. That would be great, actually. We would like that a lot. We'll give you a shout out too. Of course, you can connect with us there. You can connect with us on Twitter at CNSPod. Find all of our links over there. Again, we appreciate the support for the show so much. Thank you for listening. And we will see you again in 2 weeks' time for some more PlayStation talk. The intro and outro music for Circles and Squares was produced by friend of the show, Matthew Chan. Interlude music is from Scott Gratton of the Free Music Archive. Our channel art was created by @unreasonable on Twitter, and our brother Alex is the designer of the Circles and Squares logo. Thank you all for listening and supporting the show.